I'm really excited to take y'all out onto the Harambe Wildlife Reserve with me. I do have a couple of quick safety reminders though before we make our way fully out there. Friends, this is a real truck. I do drive it, and these roads are pretty bumpy. So with that and your safety in mind, I do just ask you remain fully seated, keeping those hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the vehicle for the entire duration of our safari experience today, including any slow rolls or stops I may make. But now is a fantastic time to get your phones and cameras out and ready to take any photos or videos you may want, as we've just entered the Little Ituri Forest. And the animals here, they do like to play I Spy with us and hide away, as they use camouflage to get away from their predators. So definitely look to the bushes, see if you see anything there. Already though, on the right hand side I do spot an okapi, and on the left I spot a greater kudu, that's this tan antelope, and a bongo, that reddish brown antelope. Now the greater kudu and the bongo both have some stripes along their backs. It's their natural camouflage against the sun rays that stream in from the forest treetops. These greater kudu are all females. They don't have any horns. Only males of their species have horns. And that bongo, their horns would kind of lay flat against their back if it tilted its chin up. That's going to help it run quickly through that forest underbrush. Now that okapi that's on the right, does anyone know what they're closely related to? Not a zebra, it's a good guess with those back legs, but I did think I heard giraffe, which is correct. As male okapis have these things called ossicones on their heads. Those are skin-covered, horn-like protrusions only shared between the giraffe and okapi. That's how we know they're related to one another. Now they also both have these really long prehensile tongues. The word prehensile means they can control the movement of their tongues, so the okapi tends to use it to groom themselves, as they can reach their ears and eyes with it. So those are the two body parts they clean the most with that tongue. Don't really know if I'd want to do that with mine, but to each their own, I guess. You want to lick your eyeball?
There's a big bird up there.
Rub your eye. It looks like coming up on the left, we're going to see a saddle-billed stork. This black and white bird. They get their name from the yellow leathery saddle that's on their beak. And this one over here, this is a male because he has brown eyes and these teardrop yellow wattles that hang down from his beak. Females of his species are going to have yellow eyes and no wattles. But we are now heading towards the outskirts of the forest. Out here, we're going to come across the Sapi River, where the animals don't always like to come fully out of the water very often, so let's look out for some dark rocks and bubbles while we pass by. Now the river is also going to start on the right, but it will loop around to the left, so don't feel too left out if you're stuck on this side like me. Though already I'm seeing a couple of pink-backed pelicans. That's this large white bird over here. Pink-backed pelicans get their name because during mating season, the tops of their beaks and their backs that are under their wings turn a light pink color, almost like they start to blush for their crush. They're one of the smaller species of pelicans, though they are one of the larger flighted birds, which I find to be funny. They contradict themselves. Now, if you look to the left, you'll see a float or group of hippopotamus. They're behind that island.
Oh yeah, look at him.
The word hippopotamus has some Latin origins. It means river horse. Because surprisingly enough, friends, hippos don't actually like to swim. They find it pretty hard to do so with their big bodies and little legs. So they instead simply just sink to the bottom to walk, like a horse walks on land. They're able to hold their breath for several minutes at a time while they do so, and they can even communicate as effectively below water as above, with one of their vocalizations that's called a wheeze honk. And each wheeze honk is unique to each hippo as well, so they do know who's talking based on who they hear wheeze honking. Ooh, but crikey, looks like we've reached crocodile territory. That's a Nile croc on the left. Fully seated though, please and thank you. Please sit down. Please sit down, my friend in white in the back. Sit down. To seat. Sit down. Thank you. Nile crocodiles are the largest living reptiles here in Africa. They are be about 6 to 8 inches bigger. They're also opportunistic eaters. They'll eat anything that comes their way. They can even eat 50% of their body weight in a single sitting. Though they do eat all 250 pounds of food at once, their tummies tend to feel a little full, a little bloated. Mine would too. So they're only going to eat about once a week in that case. They also have these cool scales on their backs that are called osteoder. So the one that was out of the water was probably using them as a natural set of solar panels to help them soak up the sun and warm out their cold blood. be heading down towards the savannah. It's a lot more flat and open over here, so these animals aren't going to be playing I Spy with us, and instead are going to rely more on speed and agility. It's also home to some of Africa's most recognizable animals, one of which was dazzling to me as I passed by. But we'll come across those zebras a little bit later on. Now I do also spot the tallest land animal in the world as we come down. They're pretty easy to see, giraffes, because they do grow to be about 20 feet tall. Though even on day one, they're already going to be taller than me. Not that it's really that hard to do, I guess, but they're already 6 feet tall. And they stand within the first couple hours of their life, even after taking a pretty jarring 6-foot drop from mom. There's also a springbok over there on the right. Hopefully we'll come across a couple more of them. It was a really tiny species of antelope that kind of reminds me of some s'mores. There's one playing in the dirt as well. But these giraffes, this is a tower, that's what a group of them is called, and these are all Maasai giraffes. I can tell their species from their spots. Maasai giraffe are going to have a jagged edge to that spot, whereas other species like reticulated giraffes, they're going to have smoother edges and a little bit more uniformity to that spot pattern. And the ossicans that we talked about with the okapi are a lot easier to see on giraffes. Remember, those are those skin-covered like protrusions? Plus, it's not gendered for the giraffe like it is the okapi. Now, if you look to the left, hanging out in the little den is going to be a small pack of African painted dogs. African painted dogs are the most successful pack hunters here on the savannah, and they work as a team to surround their prey before they take them down with their sharp teeth. Though they do always let their pups eat first. And you'll see them napping a lot of times during the day because they are crepuscular, which means they're most active around dusk and dawn, and they sleep a lot during the day. Over here on the left are some sable antelopes, as well as 2 more giraffes, one of which is a younger giraffe right there. Those sable antelopes, though, they're the emblem of the Harambe Wildlife Reserve, as they're not going to back down to predators, just like we don't back down to poachers. And when they do fight off opponents, they can even do so with those backwards curving horns on their heads, so if that animal jumps on them from behind, they tilt their chin up and poke them away. And there's going to be another one of these giraffes over here on the right. And it looks like this dazzle of zebras has started to make its way towards us as well. Now these are Hartmann's mountain zebras. I can tell because they have white underbellies and thicker stripes towards those rear legs of theirs. Now each species of zebra has that blueprint as to what their stripes look like, though they are all unique. That's how they tell each other apart in their dazzles. The zebras can also help answer a question I know has probably been on your mind all day, right? Are zebras white with black stripes or black with white? What do you guys think? Because if you're thinking black with white stripes, you'd be correct. As those zebras have predominantly black noses, so that's what's going to tell that base or predominant coloring. So they are black with white stripes. We'll be nosy towards some other species of zebras though now, to figure out what their base and stripe colors are too. Now that giraffe gets about 6 feet of its height from its neck, but they do have the same amount of bones in their necks that we do as humans, which is 7. Their bones just average about 10 inches long each, which is how their necks are so much bigger. Now there are a couple more of those springbok on the hilltop underneath that tall tree. Remember, those are those small antelope. Now even though they're small, they're still mighty, the springbok. They have a behavior called pronking, where they jump up and down 6 feet high and 13 feet in length repeatedly. Which means that if they really wanted to, they could pronk right over your heads in this vehicle. Though I haven't seen them do it yet. But where we're going, looks like a lot of trees have been knocked over. That's usually a really good sign we're heading towards elephant territory. They're not always the most careful about where they walk. Oh, well, not to talk about the elephant in the room, but there is one if you look to the right. That, my friends, is an African elephant. I can mostly tell because of its ears. Has some pretty large ears. They're shaped similarly to the continent of Africa, whereas Asian elephants are going to have small triangular ears. Second way I can tell though is because, well friends, we are driving through Africa, right? But if you look to the left, you'll also see a group of monkeys. Those are mandrills. Mandrills are the largest species of monkey. That male in the very center, he's going to be about 60 to 100 pounds. Whereas the females of his species is actually that smaller one. They're going to average about 25 pounds. They are monkeys, not apes as well. They have tails. Apes don't have tails. But that, my friends, is a tale for another time. I'm going to talk more about the elephants now. So that elephant had those really large ears, and they flap their ears a lot. The act of flapping not only helps us to identify them, but also to help cool off their bodies. They have some veins that run through their ears that cool off the more they flap, and takes that cooler blood to the rest of their body as well. But as we drive through here, I do have another question for you. Are any of you afraid of bees? Well, Hakuna Matata, my friends, no worries. We're not going to see any bees. I'm actually asking because you have something in common with another one of our friends here on the reserve who's also afraid of bees. Do you know who that might be? Elephants, yeah. Elephants are afraid of bees. Now, even though they're classed as pachyderms, which in Greek means they have thick skin, they have a pretty sensitive thick skin. So they're actually able to feel the bee sting as easily as we do. That makes them feel just as uncomfortable. So they share a similar response to myself. Oh my gosh, there's a baby. So they actually share a similar response to myself, where we both kind of turn around and run away from bees. Now, while it might be a little tricky for me to do all the time, it is actually a really good thing for these elephants to run away. Because when they wander in their herds, they don't usually carry maps, and between you and me, they're kind of illiterate, so they can't read private property signs, so they'll make their way onto farmers' lands. And we've already talked about how they're not the most careful about where they walk. They knock over a lot of trees, but they also accidentally destroy some crops. Now that was leading to a human-elephant conflict, as those farmers took actions against these elephants to further protect their livelihood. If you look back, you'll still see that baby on the left. We didn't really want that to continue happening though, because we really like the elephants here. So the Harambe Wildlife Reserve was able to partner with the farmers to get bee boxes put around the perimeters of their farmland. So, when the elephants started to wander too close, they would hear the bees buzz and turn away.
funny.
And what was called the Elephants and the Bees Project.
Yeah,
Now,
that's
because there was a
funny.
baby over here, that means this is most likely a family group of elephants. Elephants are matriarchal in nature, so the oldest and wisest female or matriarch is going to lead their main herd movements, comprised of other females and young. Males, they split off to form bachelor groups or stay solo as adults when they reach behavioral maturity levels. So the first one we saw was most likely a male. But now we're coming around this flamboyance of flamingos. That's what a group of them is called. Now these are all greater flamingos. They are the largest, but also the palest species of flamingo. They still get their pink coloring though from the beta carotene that's in the brine shrimp they eat. And if they didn't eat any brine shrimp, you would be looking at a couple of white feathered flamingos. That's not to say you won't still see that though when they hatch their gray before they turn white and eventually reach pink around age 2. But it looks like on the left we're about to come across a crash of white rhinos. That's what a group of them is called. And these are all white rhinos, like I said. Now, a crash can have 12 or more individuals in them, but the easiest way I can tell that they are white rhinos, not the black rhino, is their mouth shape. So white rhinos have a wide, square mouth. That's actually how they get their name, from the Afrikaans word weit, which means wide. But if you look to the right, you'll also see a couple of ostriches in the distance. They are the largest species of bird, though they are flightless, and instead they can run pretty fast, about 35 to 40 miles an hour, even though they only have 2 toes per foot. Now we're going to come see this crash of white rhinos, but we're also going to see an animal that's a little bit faster than the ostrich, and that's the cheetah.
Do you see it?
There's those friends. Now these cheetahs that I see, they are the fastest land mammal in the world. They can reach speeds up to 60 miles an hour in just 3 seconds. They're also the only large cat to purr. And they just purr, chirp, meow, and hiss to communicate with one another. There's another one over here as well. Oh, two.
There's one laying down.
Now they also have these black spots under their eyes. It's kind of like how footballers use that black paint under their eyes to reflect the sun away from it.
Is this fun? It's fun.
If you look to the left, there's some lions.
Oh.
You see the lion up on the rock? See it? Yeah. You see the lion? Yes.
Now the lions over here on the left do roar. In fact, a fully grown male lion's roar can be heard from about 5 miles away. That's gonna not only help them to communicate far distances, but also make sure that he knows what those females are doing, as those females are the ones that go hunting, and the male stays back to protect the rest of his pride. Now, you'll typically see lions just kind of lying around during the day, as they are nocturnal, so they sleep during the day. They're most active at night. They actually sleep about 16 to 20 hours every day. The word Simba in Swahili as well, that does mean lion. So guess what? You did just see Simba. Now we're gonna see these ostriches coming up again on the right. And to me, it looks like this ostrich, both of them are females because they have gray feathers. Male ostriches have black feathers with white tips. Oh, and there's those rhinos. Now, glad I mentioned that they're females because it looks like they laid a couple of eggs over here on the right as well. An ostrich egg is the largest bird egg laid, and there's so many of them together because those groups of females that live together all lay their eggs in the same spot as well. Fully seated though, please. But they are the largest bird egg. They weigh about 3 pounds, are the equivalent of nearly 2 dozen chicken eggs. And if an adult human male stands on one, they actually wouldn't break because they need to be able to withstand a male ostrich also laying on them for periods of incubation. In between that female, of course, makes co-parenting. But it looks like we've entered the last area of the reserve today, friends. This is the warden's post, where we're going to see a couple of Nigerian dwarf goats, as they're going to help mow the lawn as natural grazers, but they also produce a sweet milk that makes a good goat cheese. Now they may look fairly small, but they are fully grown. So to reach behavioral levels of maturity, you sometimes see them doing some funny things, like running, jumping, climbing, and headbutting. But it is all totally normal. I mean, a headbutt is just a high five with your face, right? And if you also notice that yellow box towards the very front, that was a bee box from the Elephants and the Bees project. So it looks like the warden might start bringing some of those bees on the reserve soon. But speaking of conservation, I would like to tell you about another initiative as we make our way back